of the witch population, but now their mission statement focused on education and promoting the safe and ethical use of magic. That, of course, meant they policed their own. "Keep your voice down," I hissed. I had no desire to irritate a neighbor willing to spin gray spells, which were a short step from the really dark, soul-damaging stuff. "I contacted the OMIH already. They're supposed to send an inspector out this week, and once they confirm my report, they'll alert the Magical Crimes Investigation Bureau," which sounded like a lot of tedious bureaucratic red tape. But despite the fact I was an OMIH-certified sensitive, citizens couldn't contact the MCIB directly, so we'd have to wait. The unmarked door on the other side of the alley opened, and I ducked back into the office we were actually supposed to be discussing. "Once we fixed this place up, it could be nice. It has the lobby area, a bathroom, and 2 offices. Exactly what we need," I said, as if we'd never veered off the subject. Rihanna frowned and curled her fingers in Desmond's fur. "You can see again, so you don't need me to substitute anymore, and we both know there isn't enough business to justify the overhead of an office, especially when you were doing fine running things through phone and email." "Well, not always fine. At times I'd barely scraped by," which only highlighted her point. But I had other reasons I wanted to open an office. When I first emancipated Rihanna, she'd been reluctant to spend time in the mortal realm. But when I'd lost my sight several weeks ago after a showdown with a witch who thought the world would be better if all the planes of existence touched, bad idea, Rihanna had stepped up and covered my cases. At first, she'd left Fairy for only a couple of hours on the days rituals were scheduled. But recently she'd been spending almost all day, every day, in Nekros, and while her visits hadn't completely erased the wraith-like appearance she'd had as Coleman's soul-chained captive, she now had color in her cheeks, and the bruise-like circles no longer ringed her eyes. The mortal realm agreed with her. I didn't want her to disappear into Fairy again. Besides, my ability to raise the dead was weird magic, and if I didn't use it, it used me. Over the last few weeks, I'd had to perform a couple of off-the-books rituals, holding the shades just long enough to relieve the magical pressure on my shields. But even those limited rituals had come at a higher cost than before. If I returned to raising shades several times a week, I'd be permanently blind before I hit 30. Tongues for the Dead needed a new business model. I was actually thinking about expanding the firm's services, take on some cases with billable hours not restricted to rituals and talking to shades, cases that utilize more traditional forms of investigation. Traditional investigation? She cocked her head to the side. Like what? Surveillance? Tailing spouses suspected of cheating? Maybe a stakeout? I didn't miss the sarcasm in her tone. Rihanna and I were all but night blind, to say nothing of my degrading vision. Then there was the fact that as a changeling, Rihanna couldn't be in the mortal realm during sunset or sunrise without deadly consequences. More like locating missing persons or artifacts, tracing the origins of spells or charms. Hell, we could even do background checks if someone would pay us. Between you graduating at the top of your class in spellcasting and me being one of the top 5 sensitives in the city, we have skills to offer besides grave magic. I didn't mention that she'd had a couple hundred extra years practice while in Fairy, or that I had the whole plane weaving thing going on. Neither fact was something either of us wanted on a resume. I turned back to the room, which she still hadn't entered, and waved a hand to encompass the space. "Ignore the mess and imagine what this place could look like. For instance, take that picture window. Once it's cleaned up, we can have Alex Kraft and Rihanna McBride, Tongues for the Dead Investigations, stenciled on it." Rihanna glanced at the window, which was coated in a decade's worth of dust, but the faintest hint of a smile appeared at the edge of her mouth. "You'd put my name on it, too?" "How could I not? You were the one who looked up from a mystery novel during your final year at Academy and suggested the name." The smile grew a little brighter. I'd forgotten about that. It was so long ago.